have an answer. Aaron Rodgers has returned to the Steel City. The four-time MVP was seen this morning at the Steelers facility as OTAs begin today in Pittsburgh. There he is, right there this morning. Aaron Rodgers arriving in Pittsburgh, greeting some people, getting ready to go. He's reportedly returning on a one-year deal worth up to $25 million. So he's reuniting with the Steelers, and he's reuniting with his former coach, Mike McCarthy. They won Super Bowl 45 together in Green Bay, including the playoffs. They've combined to win 109 games, which is the ninth most of any coach-quarterback duo in the Super Bowl era. Dan Graziano and Damien Woody are up with us early this morning. Dan, we have been waiting for this. I suppose it's no surprise. Tell the folks what they need to know about Rodgers being there today.
Well, they start a phase of OTAs today where they can practice on the field. He's there in time for that. That's obviously voluntary work. We'll see how much of it he's there for, but obviously good sign for them that he's there at the beginning of it. This has sort of always been the way it was going to end. We've gone back and forth about what's taken so long, et cetera, et cetera. Rodgers just does things on his timetable. The Steelers are well aware of that. If there was any frustration in the building, it was probably over just not knowing, but I don't ever get the sense it was enough to get them to consider moving in a different direction. They always felt like he was going to come play for them in 2026, and it appears that that is what is going to happen.
D. Wood, DraftKings has the Steelers win total this year at 8.5, which is absolutely perfect because we all know about their long run of non-losing seasons. Which side of that would you take right now? Would you take the over or under on 8.5 wins this year in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Granny, I'll take the under. And, the last time we saw the Pittsburgh Steelers, was Aaron Rodgers basically running for his life against the Houston Texans and just looking like a shell of himself, not pushing the ball down the field, not looking like a guy who didn't want to get hit. And also remember that Steelers defense is one of, if not the oldest, defense in the National Football League, so they'll be a year older as well. So I know this Pittsburgh Steelers team organizations always talk about competing. They don't do rebuilds, but man, when you look at the parts of this team, it's just hard for me to believe that this team will be competitive, with the likes of Baltimore and maybe Cincinnati in that division.
I'm curious, Dan, what we know of the relationship between Rodgers and McCarthy, because I was sitting here doing this chair. We were in a different studio, but I was in this chair when Mike McCarthy got fired as coach in Green Bay, and I think there was at least some perspective that it was because he was clashing with Rodgers. What do we know about that?
Well, they were losing. And look, I think the relationship is in a better place now because it's been more than 7 years since they've lost a game together. And obviously, I think given time, and Rodgers has talked about this, it's kind of the time that's gone on in between has helped him sort of appreciate what he and Mike McCarthy accomplished together. So I do think there's been a little bit of a softening of a relationship that was absolutely frayed, if not broken, by the end of Mike McCarthy's time in Green Bay. It all sounds great. But again, if things were to start to go bad, if the Steelers were to lose games, have a rough season, I mean, the fact of the matter is we've seen with Aaron Rodgers how it goes. And, he makes sure that he's not the one getting blamed.
I think it's worth noting, though, D. Wood, you can speak from the perspective of a veteran. They have these young quarterbacks in the building. One they drafted, both of them were late-round draft picks, but in each of the last 2 years, they've drafted quarterbacks to try and develop. And some of us on the outside might be saying, throw the kid out there. Let those kids play. See what you get out of it. If you're a veteran in that locker room, do you feel better today that Aaron Rodgers is there?
Yeah, absolutely you do, because Aaron Rodgers, of all the quarterbacks in that quarterback room, he gives you the best chance to win. I don't know if it's the best thing for the Pittsburgh Steelers as an organization, but yeah, listen, no one can deny the wealth of experience that Aaron Rodgers brings to the table. He had some semblance of success last year, and it dwindled towards the end of the season. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers is absolutely QB1 with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm in the interesting business. I just root for interesting things to happen. Aaron Rodgers being there remains, at least to some degree, interesting. Let's see if their team can be interesting this year. I'll remind you, as mediocre as it looked, they won the division last year. Coming up, the waiting game is finally.
Center sources telling our Adam Schefter Saturday night that Rodgers is returning to the Steelers on a one-year deal that could be worth up to $25 million. And that footage in this morning as the Steelers have OTAs this week.
He's got corded headphones.
Of course he does, man. Do one deep dive on the internet and you'll get some too. Hey, what's up? Brooke Pryor joining us from the Steelers facility this morning. Close personal friend to the program.
Fair enough.
Me and Randy Scott. Brooke, great to see you. What is today going to look like for Rodgers at OTAs?
Well, Gary, it's important to remember Aaron Rodgers does not have to be here, but he is here. Consider this maybe a freshman orientation or a meet the teacher night. They'll go more into, team building and full offensive install once we get to training camp, but they're going to start setting the foundation for that here at OTAs, which is why it was so important for the Steelers to get him in the building, to get used to this new coaching staff. Old to him, new to some, new teammates, a lot to start learning and installing. You can see there, Aaron Rodgers arrived at the facility before 7 a.m., one of the first guys in the building. He left a little after 7 with a staffer, came back about 40 minutes later, likely to take a physical, because there are still some, paperwork things that have to get done, because while we know that he is returning on a 1-year deal, he still has to sign that paperwork, and then he'll get to work. We'll see him out on the field here in a couple hours. They should be at their first OTA practice a little after 11 a.m.
Rodgers, of course, is going to be reuniting with his former head coach and Mike McCarthy. The duo won a Super Bowl together in Green Bay. What are you hearing about what their relationship is like at this point?
Look, time heals all wounds. Things might have been rocky when Mike McCarthy's tenure ended in Green Bay, because remember, he was fired while Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, his frustrations, I think, played a big part in that. But it's been some time, and I think that their relationship has been reestablished because Rodgers has been in contact with Mike McCarthy throughout the offseason. That's one thing the Steelers have maintained during this long wait, that he's been in constant communication with the front office and the head coach. He has been aware of everything going on in the building. So I think they're going to be pretty excited to see each other today.
People are wondering, Brooke, we're going to get you out on this. That person is Randy Scott. What was the flavor of choice for Aaron Rodgers at the reported ice cream meet in Pittsburgh?
Very important.
It was a butterscotch freeze, not a cup or a cone. He was at Cool Cones in North Park, about 30 minutes from here on Friday night. Ordered a butterscotch, which feels very fitting for a 42-year-old. Not that that's old, but that is kind of an old man.
It's not
flavor.
old, Brooke. Thank you.
43 in December, and you don't get this kind of reporting anywhere else. Brooke Pryor knows the flavor of the ice cream that Aaron Rodgers had in his return.
The freeze.
Yep. I apologize.
Yep.
Brooke Pryor, always great to see you.
So with the Yinzers have their QB. What was unofficially understood is official now. After getting ice cream with his would-be teammates on Friday, Aaron Rodgers will join the Steelers on a 1-year deal worth up to $25 million with a base salary between 22 and 23 M's. The 42-year-old is expected to report to Monday's OTAs in Pittsburgh, rejoining his old head ball coach, Mike McCarthy, who he worked with for 13 seasons in Green Bay. Now, last season, it was a mixed bag of results for Ron and the Steelers. Pittsburgh won the AFC North and reached the playoffs for the 3rd straight season, but statistically, Rodgers had one of the worst seasons of his career, looking at these numbers. For more on Aaron Rodgers returning to Pittsburgh, we welcome in Adam Schefter here with more. Schefter, with how Mike McCarthy's tenure ended in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, how did they come about feeling comfortable with this reunion, essentially, in Pittsburgh?
Trevor, they've been in constant contact throughout this process from the time that Mike McCarthy took over as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, returning home to Pittsburgh, where he's from. He's been communicating regularly with Rodgers, and even though the relationship at times may not have been ideal or perfect, what coach-quarterback relationship is, there is a great respect between those two individuals. And obviously, he was the one coach that could help lure Aaron Rodgers back to Pittsburgh. If we go back to the end of last season, there were a lot of people who thought Aaron Rodgers had played his last down, wouldn't be back in Pittsburgh again, and lo and behold, here we are in mid-May, and he's reached agreement with the Pittsburgh Steelers on a 1-year deal worth up to $25 million that returns him to Pittsburgh for his 22nd NFL season.
Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers choosing to remember the good times, I guess. Nothing wrong with that at all. Schefter, we appreciate it as always, sir. Speaking of those good times, let's revisit some of the best moments with Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. They were a force to be reckoned with in the NFC North. 11 seasons, McCarthy and Rodgers won 107 games, including the playoff, 9th most by a head coach quarterback duo in NFL history. Of their 11 seasons, made the playoffs 8 times, winning 6 division titles together, including 4 straight from 2011 to 14. obviously won that Super Bowl in 2010, but a lot of folks wondered if that was a little less than what they figured they would get.
Well, Trev, speaking of that Super Bowl in North Texas, Super Bowl 45, a 10-6 regular season, down the top-seeded Falcons in the divisional round. That feels like unnecessary.
Yeah,
specified.
Completely uncalled for.
They got the Steelers in the Super Bowl. Rodgers put up 304, 3 touchdowns, Super Bowl MVP. Dicing up that great Steelers defense. Here's how it sounded from Joe Buck.
The Green Bay Packers have won the Super Bowl. The Lombardi Trophy is coming home.
Hey, Joe's going to be back on the call. Super Bowl 61 on ESPN. That was the Packers' 4th Super Bowl, first since 1997.
Rodgers would win 2 of his 4 career MVPs under McCarthy as well. 2011 set the single-season passer rating record with a 122.5. And then in 2014, Rodgers won his 2nd MVP, beating out J.J. Watt and Tom Brady. Rodgers and McCarthy looking to build on their